There's a lot to cover here. I have a lot of footage to show you guys, and I know you don't want to sit through a really long video, so let's get started. Hello guys, it is the 14th. We actually just finished the trip, but I'm gonna talk to you guys about days 3 through 6. So now we're covering the 9th, September 9th. So at this point we're still in Tiberias, we're staying at the Sophia on the Sea of Galilee. That morning we go to the Sea of Galilee, and here we get to sing with my soul. And reflect on the miracles of Jesus. A lot of miracles had taken place there. What was really cool about the Sea of Galilee, obviously being on it, being on a boat there, but just getting to worship there was really cool. It was a very surreal moment. And then from there, we went to the boat museum, and that was cool because we got to see a boat that was excavated from the surrounding area, and we got to watch a video on how they preserved the boat and, you know, the length they had to go through to keep it together. And they basically built the whole museum around the preservation of this boat, which was really cool. After that, we went to the limestone cave at Caesarea Philippi. This is referred to as the Gates of Hades, where fertility gods spent the winter historically. So this was a site where the Jews in biblical times began to eventually worship Baal. Jewish people in the Bible have a history of making God mad and then getting back on his good terms, and then just a cycle of forgetting that they're serving the God who released them from Egypt. This became an area where they were worshiping pagan gods. Another significant thing about this area is this is where he told Peter, "On this rock you'll build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it." So he took his disciples here to basically show them, you can minister here and this ministry will overcome all of the demonic things that are happening here. So we went to Capernaum. This is referred to as the city of Jesus, and so we got to see remains of the early church and Peter's home, which is under a modern, I think, cathedral is what I refer to it as. We also got to see an ancient synagogue. Also in this area, there were remains that resembled a small town. Well, I mean, obviously we're in a small town of Capernaum, but like, it looked like a neighborhood, just the way the rocks were set up. A lot of these sites during this day surrounded the Sea of Galilee, so we got to see another beautiful view and pray there, and it was just beautiful. And then we went to Philgerhos Tavha. I'm gonna put that on the screen because I don't know how to say it. This is where we ate lunch. It was aight, but the view was beautiful. So, you know, it's kind of like the Oasis in Austin, where you go for the view, but they overcharge on the Tex-Mex. After that, we went to the Mount of Beatitudes.
Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God. Blessed are those who...
And another thing that was cool is when we had gotten there and we were listening to him recite this, we were the only people there. And then as soon as he was done, the tour started flooding the area. And my favorite beatitude is, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the sons of God." After that, we visited Magdala, which is believed to be the hometown of Mary Magdalene. Here we also saw a first century synagogue that was discovered, and then we also got to walk around Catholic church or cathedral called Ducin Altum. I'm also gonna write that down here. And so one thing I really liked about this place was in, I guess, the main sanctuary. So on the altar is a boat and a cross, and then through behind it there's a large window that shows the view of the Sea of Galilee, and it's just beautiful. After that, we go to the Sophia Hotel to have dinner, and sadly it's our last night there. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about September 10th. So we had beautiful breakfast at the Sophia Hotel before we left there for good. And then we went to the Jordan River for baptisms. And that was a beautiful experience. Before we started the baptisms, there was a dove that was kind of hovering above the water and then took off, and it was just so beautiful. I definitely felt the presence of the Lord there. John chapter 1 verse 32, and John bore witness, I saw the Spirit descend from heaven like a dove, and it remained on him. So seeing the dove kind of hover on the water before we started the baptisms reminded me of that verse, and it was just beautiful. And then we went to Bet Shean National Park, and of course I'm going to include the name here because I'm butchering these. And so we saw new excavations there. And this is the city where the Philistines hung the bodies of Saul and Jonathan in the book of 2 Samuel. And then we went to Jericho, known as the oldest city in the world. We went to a gift shop there. I believe the only thing we did was go to a gift shop and then see a sycamore tree. I don't know if it was the sycamore tree that Zacchaeus was hiding in. Anyways, Jericho was a short trip. And then we went to the area of the Dead Sea. So we were in En Bokek. Of course, I'm going to include the name here. And we stayed at Israel, which was a beautiful, huge resort, very much giving party time. Turn up, all the things at night. It wasn't giving you're gonna rest here, it was giving you're gonna party. And after settling in, we visited the Dead Sea and we got to float in it, and it was surprisingly warm. It wasn't giving hot tub, but it was giving, you know, lukewarm Christian. But it was still very relaxing, and it was a cool experience to just be able to sit up in the water and not go anywhere. So more about the Dead Sea. It's known as the lowest point of the earth. Biblically, it was a place of refuge for David, and it was one of the first health resorts made for King Herod, also known as Herod the Great. And then we had dinner and ended our day and fell asleep with some incense outside. Okay, now we're gonna discuss September 11th. This was the hottest, probably the hottest day of the trip, or at least it felt like it because we spent basically the whole day outside. So we started off at Masada National Park. Here's where Herod the Great built another palace, I believe, and here he provided storage and water enough to withstand any siege. And I believe that the Romans were trying to capture this area for about 3 years until they were successful. And so what they had done was built this ramp leading up to this area, and what the inhabitants of this area did was unfortunately commit suicide because they didn't want to endure what they were expecting from being captured by the Romans. While we were there, we saw beautiful views. We also got to see several bathhouses and saunas, and there were many cisterns there. That was the only way for them to have water up there, or an unlimited supply, so to speak. And then after that, we went to En-Gedi Nature Refuge. So when we got there, we were greeted by some goats, and we walked to a small waterfall. Here, it looks a little bit different from the rest of the area because, you know, there's vegetation, there's trees, there's grass, and this is all because of David's fountain. biblically, this is where David spared King Saul's life in 1 Samuel. And then afterwards we went and had lunch at Barracuda Restaurant in Jericho. And this was a really cool place because of the presentation of the food. So a lot of these places that we've gone to, they just kind of put a plate in front of us and they're like, all right, eat it. And so what was cool about this place was the presentation of the food. So they brought out a huge pot, and unfortunately I missed them flipping it upside down, but they flipped the rice upside down onto the plate and it looked very challenging, so it was very impressive that they were able to do it. We went to, I actually have no idea how to say this, so I'm going to include it here, but this is where the Dead Sea Scrolls were hidden. So this place resembled Masada National Park a little bit because there were also cisterns and there were remnants of bathhouses for the Jews that lived in that area to do ritual bathing. We ended our night in Jerusalem at the Dan Hotel, which is where I am at currently, and this is where we're going to spend the rest of the trip. But yeah, it's a beautiful place. Definitely the best view that we've had since being in Israel in terms of a hotel. And yeah, that was the second 3 days. Watch for the next one.